Have you ever felt as though you were standing in front of a door that had been locked shut, and no matter how hard you pounded on it, even until your hands were raw and bleeding, it would not move? You may have spent months, even years, carefully planning a perfect life, only for one sudden event to arrive and shatter everything like pieces of broken pottery. And in that bitter silence, a question begins to rise. Did I take the wrong path? Is fate punishing me? Buddhist wisdom offers an answer that is both profound and, at first, not easy to accept. Sometimes, a devastating failure is not the end of the road, but a form of protection disguised as tragedy. The suffering you feel is not coming from the fact that your plan has fallen apart. It is coming from the fierce argument your mind is having with reality itself. Fate is not a map already drawn for you, one you must follow blindly. Fate is your ability to stop resisting and begin learning how to flow with the river of life. In this video, we will explore why the no you received yesterday may, in truth, be the most important yes for your future. So take a deep breath and let your tense shoulders soften. If you are ready to loosen your grip on control and allow your life to be guided by wisdom, stay with me until the very end of this video. And right now, write in the comments, I choose to stop arguing with life to begin this journey of letting go. Part 1. The Illusion of the Steering Wheel. Let us begin with a truth that is obvious, yet deeply painful. Most of us spend our whole lives trying to play the role of a powerful driver on the road of destiny. We believe that if we work hard enough, calculate carefully enough, and prepare for every worst-case scenario, we will be able to control the direction of our lives. The mind keeps whispering, I must get that job. I must keep this person from leaving. My health must remain perfect. We treat these desires as if they were a fixed map, and any unexpected turn sends us into panic. But have you noticed that modern culture is quietly destroying our ability to be at peace? We live in a world of instant gratification, where everything from food to information is available with a single tap. And this convenience has unintentionally trained the brain to expect life itself to function like an app. When destiny does not deliver on time, when reality refuses to follow the script you have written, you begin to tighten inside. Your jaw clenches, your shoulders rise, your breath becomes shallow. You think you are solving the problem, but in truth, you are only rehearsing your suffering before it has even arrived. Buddhist wisdom reminds us of a liberating truth. Control is only an illusion. It is like trying to hold a handful of dry sand in your palm. The tighter you squeeze, afraid of losing it, the faster it slips through your fingers. The effort to control does not make your life safer. It only leaves you exhausted. The tension you call anxiety is, in many ways, your resistance to the reality that is already unfolding. Right now, I want you to do a small exercise with me. Notice your body. Are you sitting as though you are bracing for an attack? Try softening your jaw, lowering your shoulders, and taking one deep breath. Nothing has changed on the outside. Your problems are still there. And yet the space within you has opened, even if only a little. When the body begins to feel safe, the mind no longer needs to control everything. Happiness does not begin when every problem is solved. It begins when you stop bracing yourself against life. Part 2. Redefining Destiny. When you begin to loosen your grip on that imaginary steering wheel, a kind of inner space begins to appear, and in that space, we no longer see destiny as a burden or a punishing force. We begin to understand it in an entirely different way. Destiny is not a fixed destination, it is a flow. Imagine your life as a great river. That river never stands still. It is always moving, carried by a natural force toward the sea. In Buddhist philosophy, suffering does not come from the river flowing too fast or too slowly. It comes from your attempt to swim against the current in order to return to the past, or from your desperate effort to cling to a rock on the riverbank because you are afraid of change. Your resistance does not alter the direction of the river. It only leaves you exhausted, breathless, and sinking. Destiny, in truth, is the reality unfolding right beneath your feet. One of our greatest mistakes is that we rush to label every event as good or bad the moment it happens. Think of the Zen story of the farmer. When his horse ran away, the neighbors said it was bad luck, and he simply replied, maybe. When the horse returned with a herd of wild horses, they called it good fortune, and again he only said, maybe. The perspective of the wise is one that does not rush to judge. You cannot know whether a door closing today is protecting you from some unseen tragedy ahead. To accept destiny is not passive resignation, nor is it giving up on effort. On the contrary, it is a form of awakened action. It means you prepare the soil, plant the seeds, and water them with all your heart, yet you are humble enough not to pry open the petals just because you want the flower to bloom sooner. When you stop arguing with reality, you begin to float on that river with a deep and quiet trust. You still observe, you still act, but you no longer carry the burden of forcing everything to happen according to your will. This is the moment you realize peace does not come when the storm stops. Peace comes when you understand that you are the water itself, and water always knows the way back to the ocean. But how do we recognize that current when the darkness of doubt still feels so overwhelming? How do we know whether the universe is guiding us or whether we are truly lost? The answer lies in the subtle signals that destiny sends you each day. And now, let us uncover the 5 signs that life may be quietly protecting you and redirecting you toward a greater journey. Part 3. Decoding the signals from the current of destiny. Sign 1. When a deeply cherished desire does not come true. The first sign is often the most painful one, yet it may also be the strongest form of protection destiny offers you. It is the moment when something you longed for with all your heart, something you poured your energy and devotion into, simply does not happen. It may be a job you deeply dreamed of, a business project you were certain would succeed, or a person you hoped would walk beside you for the rest of your life. And when that door suddenly slams shut, our natural response is despair. You begin asking yourself what you did wrong. You wonder why the universe has been so unfair to you. But seen through the lens of the Dharma, this is not a rejection. It is a compassionate redirection. Imagine that you are trying to fit a puzzle piece into a larger picture. You hold that piece in your hand, and to you it looks beautiful. You are convinced it belongs in that exact place, so you press harder, forcing it in with all your strength. But the truth is, that piece was never meant to fit there. And if you keep forcing it, you may damage both the piece and the larger picture of your life. In Buddhism, we understand that all things unfold according to the laws of cause and effect. And dependent arising, sometimes the seed you planted is your effort, but the soil in your present life is no longer the right place for you to bloom. A no from the universe often carries a hidden message. Wait. Something else, Something more aligned with your spiritual growth is waiting ahead. Destiny is doing something our ordinary eyes cannot yet see. It is clearing your hands. Because if you cling too tightly to what was never truly yours, your hands will have no room left to receive the greater gifts that are on their way. So instead of resenting the door that has closed, step back for a moment and ask yourself, if this is not happening, what kind of person is it giving me the chance to become? Trust that what is truly meant for you will never pass you by. Today's disappointment may be the very emptiness needed to make room for tomorrow's miracle. But destiny does not stop at removing what no longer belongs in your life. Sometimes it goes further. It places you directly in situations that force you to change direction. This is when you encounter repeated obstacles, closed doors that leave you with no choice but to turn around. Let us now move to the second sign, guidance through resistance. Sign 2, the appearance of forced obstacles. The second sign destiny sends you often takes the form of deadlock. It is when you keep running into barriers you simply cannot get past on the path you have chosen. You try twice as hard, you test every possible option, and yet it feels as though the universe itself is joining together to tell you, no. Deep down, you feel as if you are throwing yourself again and again against a wall of cold stone. In Buddhist philosophy, this can be understood as a form of spiritual redirection. Imagine you are walking through a dense maze, determined to move in a straight line toward your destination, but on that path, a fallen tree blocks the way, or floodwaters rise so high that you cannot take another step. What do you do then? Do you stand there shouting at the tree in frustration, or do you step back and notice that right beside you, a smaller, greener path has just revealed itself? We are often far too rigid in our idea of success. We assume that the shortest path must also be the best one. But destiny is not concerned with speed, it is concerned with the growth of your soul. These forced obstacles appear to make you stop and truly look. It may be that your old direction was leading you toward a cliff you could not yet see. It may be that the job you are desperately trying to hold onto is, in truth, wearing away your compassion and draining your creativity. Do not see the obstacle as an enemy that is blocking your way. See it as a teacher that is protecting you. In Buddhist teaching, there is the wisdom of flowing with conditions not as surrender in the sense of giving up, but as the discernment to stop pushing against a locked door and realize that the universe may already have opened a window in the opposite direction. The resistance you feel right now may be a sign that your energy is no longer aligned with that environment. And when you allow yourself to turn around, you may be surprised to discover that the new path, though more winding, is actually where the right conditions have been waiting for you to bloom. But obstacles do not arise only from the outer world. Sometimes, destiny carries out its most painful purification within our emotional lives. This happens when the people we believed would be with us forever suddenly step out of our lives. Let us now move to the third sign, the ending of soul contracts. Sign 3. The departure of soul contracts. The third sign often brings a heartbreak so sharp and an emptiness so suffocating that it feels almost unbearable. It is when the people you once believed would walk beside you forever suddenly step out of your life. It may be a divorce after many years together, a soul-deep friendship that suddenly turns distant, or a betrayal from the person you trusted most. In that moment, the ego cries out, "Why did they abandon me? What did I do wrong to deserve this loneliness?" But from the deeper view of Buddhist wisdom, no meeting is ever accidental, and no separation is ever a mistake. We may think of each relationship as a kind of soul contract, Every person who enters your life comes with a purpose. Some teach you how to love, some teach you how to become strong, and some arrive to mirror the wounds within you that have not yet healed. The frightening silence that follows a breakup or the painful fracture of a relationship may in truth be a sign that the contract has been fulfilled. When the lesson has been learned, when the energy between two people no longer serves each other's growth, destiny carries out a painful purification in order to set you free. Do not try to use the ropes of attachment, guilt, or resentment to chain someone to your life when their time in your story has already come to an end. In Buddhism, there is the teaching of impermanence. Everything changes, even love, even closeness. And when destiny allows someone to leave, it may be the universe's way of saying, this person's presence has now become an obstacle to your growth. Learn to let go with gratitude rather than bitterness. Understand that they are leaving to make room for new connections, more aligned with who you are becoming, and to help you return to yourself to learn how to befriend your own soul again. Sometimes, destiny takes away someone you love in order to return you to yourself, the freer, deeper version of you that was lost while trying too hard to please others. And sometimes, the emptiness left behind by those who leave is only the preparation for an even greater storm. Once the space around you has been cleared, destiny often delivers the decisive blows that force you to shatter your old shell. Let us now move to the fourth sign, crises that compel us to be reborn. Sign 4, crises that force us to be reborn. The fourth sign often arrives in the form of a storm that sweeps away everything you once called stable. A series of overwhelming crises, a sudden change in your health, a financial upheaval, or the complete collapse of something you once believed in. In that moment, your whole world feels overturned, as though every piece of your life has been thrown out of its old place. And the ego is terrified, because it clings to safety, even false safety, even a small and diminished life. But in Buddhist wisdom, this is precisely when destiny is performing a necessary spiritual surgery. There is a beautiful image I mentioned before, Kintsugi. When a precious bowl falls and shatters, the artisan does not throw away the broken pieces. Instead, they carefully join them back together with a special lacquer mixed with pure gold. What emerges is a new work of art, marked by radiant golden lines running through every crack. The bowl is no longer what it once was, but it has become more precious, more soulful, and more alive because it has been broken. So if you feel as though you are falling apart right now, understand this. Destiny is not destroying you. It is breaking open the old, narrow shell that has kept the light of your wisdom from shining through. You cannot become a new version of yourself while clinging to an old self that has already outlived its truth. Crisis comes to tell you, this soil has been exhausted. It is time for your roots to reach toward new ground. Do not try to gather all the broken pieces and force them back into exactly what they used to be. That is resistance, and it leads nowhere. Instead, allow yourself to come apart. Allow yourself to hurt, but at the same time, witness that process with awareness. Destiny is using the gold of wisdom and compassion to mend you. The scars you carry in your spirit today are your golden lines. They are proof that you have passed through darkness and emerged deeper, stronger, and more resilient than those who have never known the storm. This rebirth is not merely a choice, it is a command from the current of life itself, calling you back to the greatness of your true nature. And yet, after the fierce storm of transformation, destiny sometimes leads you into a state that feels like the complete opposite, a state that can be just as unsettling as crisis itself. It is the silence where time seems to stop, where everything appears motionless. Let us now move to the final sign, being prepared in stillness. Sign 5. The deep silence before a great turning point. This final sign is often the most confusing of all, because it does not arrive in the form of an event. It arrives wearing the face of emptiness. It is when your life falls into a season of complete stillness. There is no new drama, no dazzling opportunity, but no catastrophe either. You feel as though you are trapped in destiny's endless waiting room. You keep trying, but nothing seems to happen. You keep searching, but no answer comes back. And the mind begins to whisper, "Has the universe forgotten me? Have I truly failed and fallen outside the flow of life?" But Buddhist wisdom reminds us that before a lotus blossoms and releases its fragrance across the water, it must first spend a long season hidden in the darkness of the mud below. On the surface, it seems as though nothing is happening, but in truth, that is when the seed is gathering all of its energy, taking root, drawing in nourishment, preparing for a magnificent unfolding. The silence you are living through may be a season of spiritual incubation. Destiny is giving you the pause you need to process the lessons of the past, to clear away the fragments left behind by earlier crises. This is the moment when the universe is quietly rearranging the pieces on the chessboard of your life. And if you rush to act simply because you are afraid of the stillness, you may interrupt a preparation far more delicate and sacred than you realize. Learn to honor this silence as a gift. Do not mistake stillness for stagnation. When your life seems to be moving neither forward nor backward, it may be a sign that you are standing at the threshold between two chapters of your life. Use this time to return inward, to listen to your breath, and to strengthen the peace within you. Because when this silence ends, the current of destiny may carry you forward with a speed and clarity beyond anything you imagined possible. Trust the rhythm of waiting. The taller a tree is meant to grow, the more time it needs in silence to send its roots deep into the earth. These 5 signs are not distant theories. They are the language of reality itself, speaking directly to you. But understanding them is not enough. How do we truly let go when fear is still there? How do we flow with the river when our hands still want to cling to the shore? Right now, I want to share with you a set of dharma-based practices that can help you turn this understanding into the immediate strength of peace. Part 4. The Practical Toolkit, Loosening the Need for Control. The Dharma Toolkit. By this point, your mind may already be beginning to accept that destiny has a wisdom of its own, but there is a great distance between knowing and living it. How do you truly let go when fear is still tightening around your chest? How do you stop arguing with reality when everything around you seems to be falling apart? Buddhist wisdom does not offer theory alone. It also gives us a practical toolkit, something real you can lean on to find steadiness in the very heart of the storm. Think of these as 4 steps to help you float more gently on the river of your own destiny. The first step, notice where the body is tightening. In Buddhism, body and mind are one. Long before an anxious thought becomes clear, the body has already begun to react. When you try to control life, this physical tightening is the body's expression of resistance. So right now, whatever you are doing, take 10 seconds to notice your body. Gently soften the muscles in your face. Let your shoulders drop. Take one deep breath all the way down into your belly. When you soften the body, you send a message to the brain. In this moment, I am safe. I do not need to fight reality anymore. To loosen the body is the beginning of loosening your grip on destiny. The second step: question the story your mind is telling. Buddhism teaches that we do not suffer only because of what happens. We suffer because of the stories we weave around what happens. When a door closes, reality is simply this: the door has closed. But the mind quickly adds its dark interpretations. I am a failure. I will never find another opportunity. People must be laughing at me. Learn to separate fact from story. Ask yourself, is this true, or is this only my fear speaking? When you begin peeling away the labels bad, terrible, tragic, you may find that reality itself becomes much lighter to hold. The third step: anchor yourself in the present through the breath. Destiny is always unfolding now, but anxiety pulls you backward into the past or hurls you forward into the future. You may not be able to control what will happen next month, but you can return to your breath in this very moment. Whenever doubt begins to take over, come back to the breath. The breath is the one anchor that keeps you from being swept away by the current. And when you return fully to the present, you begin to see that most of what you fear has not actually happened. Here, in this moment, you already have enough strength to meet what is in front of you. The final step: act with awareness and let go of the outcome. This is one of the highest arts of inner maturity. Give your full effort to what is in your hands, but release your attachment to the final result. Care for your seed with all your love, but do not sit beside it trying to force it to sprout according to your timetable. When you work without being crushed by the demand that the outcome must look a certain way, your actions become freer, more creative, and more alive. And this is precisely when destiny can move most naturally through your hands. Practicing these steps does not mean your life will suddenly become smooth and effortless. It means that even when the road is rough, you will no longer be wounded by your own resistance to it. And now, with these signs understood and these tools in your hands, let me leave you with one final message, a truth that may forever change the way you see loneliness and peace on this journey. My friend, after all that we have shared, there is one final thing I want you to understand. Trusting destiny is not an act of weakness, nor is it a matter of surrendering your life to some random force of luck. Trusting destiny is one of the highest expressions of awakened wisdom, a wisdom that understands that you are not separate from this universe, but an inseparable part of it. You do not need to become perfect. You do not need to solve every problem, and you do not need to force yourself to be at peace immediately in order to be considered successful on the spiritual path. Buddhist wisdom reminds us that true peace is not a place where there is no noise, no trouble, and no difficult work to do. True peace is when you can stand in the middle of all those things and still let your heart smile and say, "This too is part of the journey. This too is enough." Do not be too harsh with yourself if fear still returns from time to time, or if your hands unconsciously tighten again around the steering wheel of life. That is part of being human. But each time it happens, remember this: you can always begin again, right here, with one new breath. Destiny has never abandoned you. It is only waiting for you to stop arguing with it, so it can lead you toward horizons that the anxious eye could never have seen on its own. What truly belongs to you will find its way to you. What needs to leave, no matter how tightly you hold on, will still go. So let your life unfold the way a flower opens into bloom, or the way a cloud drifts over a mountain peak, naturally, peacefully, and without force. Before we part, I want to leave your heart with one small question. If, in this very moment, you fully trusted that everything is unfolding exactly as it needs to, what burden would you choose to lay down first? Leave your answer in the comments, not only for me, but as a moment of honesty with your own soul. Your sharing may become the light that helps guide someone else who is still lost in the dark. Thank you for being here, for listening, and for allowing yourself to be at peace. I wish you a gentle road ahead, steady, calm, and filled with trust. May peace be present in every step you take. Goodbye for now, and may we meet again in awareness.